Welcome to the deep dive. We always try to explore complex information here, find those surprising insights.
Yeah, and today's dive is definitely no exception. It's a very personal story, but with some pretty broad potential impacts.
Exactly. We're focusing on Michael Barden today.
hmm And Michael's recently made let's say, a very significant legal move,
Yeah, he fired his attorney, rejected a plea deal.
and he's decided to fight his case in court or, hope for a dismissal. He actually called the choice damn scary.
And central to all this, and really what makes this dive so fascinating, is how he identifies himself,
Right, as a targeted individual.
which for him means being subjected to organized stalking, harassment, psychological operations, he says.
And the sources we're digging into today are, well, they're pretty unique.
Definitely. We have a personal audio update from Michael Barden himself.
Yeah, where he talks about his legal fight, his experiences.
But maybe even more striking, these two character reference letters.
Uh-huh. Submitted to the court. And they're from, well, let's just say surprising names.
Very surprising. A former NSA analyst.
And a former FBI special agent.
So our mission today, really, is to try and unpack Michael's claims
Yeah, look at the details in those letters, see what they say.
and explore what this whole kind of extraordinary narrative might reveal about his perception of targeting, information control, the justice system itself.
It's going to be quite a discussion. Definitely challenge some assumptions, I think.
Yeah.
Lots of aha moments, hopefully.
Okay, so let's start with that legal move. Michael Barden, he called it damn scary himself. Firing his attorney, rejecting the plea. Why? Why take such a, radical step?
Well, from his perspective, in that audio update, he's pretty clear he just couldn't accept the plea deal.
Okay.
He was really worried about being micromanaged by the system.
Micromanage that.
He talks about speaking with a probation officer, right?
All right.
They were already asking about everything from his dog's temperament.
His dog. Really?
Yeah, and, Veterans Court, community service, psych evaluations, the whole gamut.
Ah, I see. So it felt like total control.
Exactly. He said accepting the plea meant giving up control over every second of his life, and he just refused, flat out.
So instead, he's determined to fight, even if the potential outcomes he sees are pretty extreme.
Yeah, very extreme. He actually says he's willing to go to prison.
Prison?
With violent offenders, murderers, and rapists, he says, if that's what it takes to bring more attention to his cause.
Wow. That's a heavy stance.
It is. The alternative, of course, the ideal one for him, is that the system works as it should.
Meaning the case gets dropped.
Right. Because of exculpatory evidence he believes exists or conflicting statements from the plaintiff. It's very all or nothing.
So prison isn't a deterrent for him in this context. It's almost like a platform.
It seems that way, yeah. A way to expose
He sees.
is a much wider injustice.
And this ties into something else you mentioned, something troubling about the evidence itself.
Ah, yes. The police discovery paperwork.
Right, about 20 pages, he said, went missing.
Yeah, from his secure locations, he claims. And he suspects it was stolen.
Stolen to be replaced.
That's his suspicion. Replaced with a new version, maybe altered. He described it as typed out on a damn typewriter.
Typewriter, that's specific.
It is. And he says this kind of thing, this manipulation or disappearance of evidence, is common for targeted individuals.
So it suggests a kind of systematic effort to, obstruct his case? Manipulate the narrative.
That seems to be his view.
Yeah.
And it really goes to the heart of trusting the process, doesn't it? If information can just disappear or change.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to how he defines this whole targeted individual phenomenon. For listeners maybe not familiar, it's usually someone who believes they're being systematically harassed or watched, often by government or hidden groups. So from Barton's direct experience, what does he say actually happens when you're targeted?
Well, the way he describes it, it's like things happen that don't make any sense at all.
Okay, just inexplicable events.
Yeah, and crucially, nobody will give you an explanation. He says it's like you have to take it. Just endure it.
Implying a total lack of control or recourse.
Precisely.
And he doesn't think this is just happening to him. He thinks it's bigger.
Oh, much bigger. He states his belief that millions of people are being targeted.
Millions. Wow.
Yeah, and he calls it one of the biggest scams ever.
A scam. How to think it works? What's the mechanism, according to him?
His theory is that it's basically human beings using other human beings for profit.
Profit for...
Through stalking, harassment, torture, slander. And he says this is carried out by Compartmentalized groups that punish a target.
Compartmentalized groups, like intelligence cells.
Kind of sounds like that, yeah. And the purpose, he claims, is to justify their budgets.
Justified budgets,
By
making the target look bad.
essentially, yeah. By showing the target is acting out or seems dangerous as a result of the harassment, which then justifies the group's existence and funding. It's a really quite shocking claim about how systemic he believes it is.
A calculated, profit-driven operation, in his view.
That's the picture he paints.
And he's trying to fight back by documenting things.
Yeah, he talks about using cell phones, GoPros, trying to film everything.
To catch these people, as he puts it.
Exactly, to try and show a pattern, show their standard operating procedures, their tactics.
So he's building his own evidence file, essentially, not just for the legal case, but for this wider phenomenon he describes.
Seems like it. Gathering proof frame by frame.
Okay, so this brings us to these letters. This is where things get particularly interesting, I think. How did he even manage to get these submitted?
Well, he mentions learning from a probation officer, actually, that he could send letters directly to the judge.
Ah, how cool.
But there was a tight deadline, like 5 p.m. that day.
Wow, so he had to act fast.
Very fast. And he says Karen Stewart and Gerald Sosby, the authors, got them to him immediately, digitally and by mail. It shows a certain urgency, I guess.
Definitely commitment. Okay, let's talk about Karen Moulton Stewart first. Former NSA analyst, 28 years service. That's a long career inside. What does she say about Michael Barden?
Her assessment is incredibly positive. She finds him honest, forthright, brave.
Okay.
Determined to fight wrongdoing ethically and legally, she says. And she notes he's received illegal and unethical backlash.
Strong word.
Very. She calls him a man of honor and a patriot. Compares his service to her own, actually.
But her letter goes beyond just character assessment, right? She makes some very specific allegations.
Oh, absolutely. This is where it gets really deep. She talks about parallel construction and FBI fusion centers.
Okay, break those down. What is she alleging there?
She describes what she calls a governmental hysteria leading to these FBI fusion centers. Now, a fusion center is, where different agencies, federal, state, local, share intelligence.
Right.
But Stewart claims that a main fusion center has been caught fabricating parallel construction files on completely innocent people.
Fabricating files to target them.
That's her claim, specifically to target them as threats and parallel construction. That's a term for when, say, evidence is obtained illegally. But then they find a way to reobtain it or justify it through legal means, sort of cleaning it up after the fact.
I see. So masking the original, perhaps illegal source.
Exactly. And she says this is done to inflate budgets, expand the police state, and undermine the constitutional republic. It's about alleging a system of targeting, moving from gathering information to potentially creating it.
And the tactics she mentions are pretty stark. Perjury, falsifying reports.
Yeah, she claims officials are encouraged to perjure themselves and falsify police reports, and that the accusations are kept secret using false classification.
False classification. So hiding it from scrutiny.
That's the implication. She even cites specific U.S. codes, 18 sections 241, 242, about conspiracy against rights and deprivation of rights under color of law, and the Fourth Amendment against unreasonable searches and seizures.
And she says it's all for a numbers game.
A numbers game, yeah, to justify budgets. And she names names, or rather groups.
Which groups does she mention?
She specifically points to InfraGard.
InfraGard. That's the FBI partnership with the private sector, right?
Yes, but she describes it quite differently as a civilian vigilante force that employs known criminals.
Wow. Okay. Who else?
SSG, which she calls a surveillance group, the FBI itself, naturally, and Citizen Corps.
Citizen Corps. Aren't those usually community preparedness groups, like for disasters?
Typically, yes, but she includes them in this network she's describing. It's a pretty explosive set of claims from someone with her background.
No kidding. An insider's perspective alleging systemic fabrication and abuse. Okay, so that's Karen Stewart, but there's another letter. Gerald Sosby.
Right. Former FBI special agent, and now a practicing attorney in Texas.
Another insider from a different agency. What's his assessment of Barden?
Sosby also recommends Barden highly. Talks about his strength of character, his devotion to country, particularly his military service.
Okay.
Says he's reliable under pressure, a leader in human rights groups. He states Barden is well-known and respected by all, especially defenders of liberty.
High praise. But the really striking part of Sosby's letter, perhaps, is his own experience.
Exactly. This is where it really overlaps with Barden's claims in a direct way.
What does he say?
Sosby states quite plainly that he himself has been a target of covert FBI operations.
A former FBI agent targeted by the FBI?
That's what he claims.
Yeah.
And he says he has personally experienced similar episodes to what Michael describes.
Such as?
He mentions assaults and provocations specifically, things designed to make him react, perhaps.
And he says he's documented this.
Claimed to have documented many such crimes over 35 years. He even says he proved one attack against him was set up by FBI.
Proved it how?
He says it resulted in the assailant taking a no contest plea. So essentially, he's validating the type of experiences Barden is reporting based on his own alleged history.
That's quite a validation coming from a former FBI agent.
It lends significant weight, you'd have to say. He's not just speaking abstractly. He's saying, this happened to me too.
And so, based on all this, his character assessment and his own experiences, Sosby asks the court for leniency for Barden.
Yes, he requests the court consider this character reference of a worthy and honorable man and grant leniency.
For Barden himself, the fact these two individuals wrote these letters must be huge.
Oh, absolutely. He sees it as major validation.
How so?
Well, he points out, you have a 28-year NSA veteran, someone who passed yearly psych evaluations, he emphasizes, and a former FBI agent turned attorney.
Right, people with established careers and reputations.
Exactly. He believes they wouldn't put their names and reputations on the line like this if he were crazy, as he puts it, or if these events weren't real. Their credibility, in his eyes, supports his credibility.
It's certainly an unusual form of evidence to present in a legal context.
Highly unusual.
Okay, so beyond the immediate legal fight and these letters, Barden also shared some broader thoughts, some reflections on his life. He mentioned physical symptoms.
Yeah, he described experiencing extreme fatigue, pressure headaches, even burning skin.
And does he link that directly to the targeting?
He attributes some of it to long hours editing video, documenting everything. But it does seem intertwined with the overall stress and perhaps his perception of being under attack as a targeted individual.
And how does he deal with the feeling of being watched, the surveillance aspect, day to day?
He notices things, patterns, like people at the post office seeming to enter and exit at the exact same time he does. Little synchronicities that feel suspicious to him.
Hypervigilance, maybe?
Could be. He also mentioned someone having a strange reaction when he just casually mentioned receiving letters from former NSA and FBI people.
So even mundane interactions can feel loaded for him.
It seems that way, yeah. It paints a picture of a life lived under constant perceived scrutiny.
And this perception, this experience, leads him into some really deep personal territory regarding faith.
Right. This was quite poignant, I thought. He talks about praying, but not hearing God.
Okay.
And then he connects this to descriptions he's read about V2K technology.
V2K, voice to skull.
Exactly, voice to skull. Sometimes called synthetic telepathy. The idea that technology could project voices or sounds directly into someone's mind.
Right. There are some declassified documents or discussions around that kind of technology existing, at least experimentally.
And for Barden, this knowledge makes it incredibly difficult. How could someone who does hear voices, he wonders, distinguish between a genuine spiritual experience and potentially technological manipulation?
That's a profound dilemma. It challenges the very nature of one's inner reality.
Absolutely. How do you know what's real, what's internal versus external, especially if you believe such technology exists and might be used for targeting?
So where does that leave him? He mentioned an upcoming interview.
Yeah, he decided to appear on a show called The Non Sequitur Show. He noted it's an atheist YouTube channel.
Interesting choice. Is he going there to debate religion?
No, he was very clear about that. He said he will not debate religion.
Okay, so what's the focus?
He wants to focus solely on the human aspects, the profit-motivated side of what he calls organized stalking harassment.
So sticking to the alleged earthly mechanics of it all. The groups, the budgets, the tactics.
Exactly, trying to expose what he sees as a systemic human-driven abuse, regardless of anyone's spiritual interpretation or experiences.
And finally, after describing all of this difficulty, this isolation, he mentioned finding some connection.
Yes, that seemed really important to him. He talked about finally connecting with a group of people who are, in his words, working together and trying to do something positive.
A support network, essentially.
Yeah, and after feeling so isolated, he described it as a big relief. It really highlights that human need for community, doesn't it? Especially when you feel like you're facing something so overwhelming and strange.
It really does. So just to recap this, Pretty extraordinary deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a lot to unpack.
We've looked at Michael Barden's really radical legal choice, rejecting the plea deal.
Mm-hmm. His claims about being a targeted individual, this idea of widespread harassment by these compartmentalized groups working for profit.
And then the core of it, perhaps these incredibly unusual character references from Karen Stewart, the former NSA analyst.
And Gerald Sosby, the former FBI special agent, who even shared his own similar alleged experiences.
The information we've discussed today, it really does challenge conventional understanding, doesn't it? It forces you to consider different views on what reality might even mean when information is so complex.
Absolutely, it pushes boundaries.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. In a world where you have personal accounts like Barden's, you have official-sounding documents or claims like Stewart's and Sosby's, and where perception itself can be so easily influenced or questioned, when does one person's experience start to look like a shared reality?
Yeah, and how do we just, as people trying to be informed, how do we figure out the truth in stories like these that really stretch the limits of what we think is possible?